Good evening to all the students. Today topic is GST return and it's very practical and you all will enjoy. Why? Because we will also see on the GST live portal as well. What is the GSTR1? What is GSTR3B? What is QRMP scheme? Everything we will discuss theoretically as well as on GST portal. So today class is going to be very practical. So ensure to remain in the full class. Very good evening. So we can start our topic GSTR1. So a registered person, a person who is registered under section 9, a regular dealer need to file two returns, GSTR1 and GSTR3B. So conceptually, first I'm explaining conceptually what about the GSTR1, GSTR3B and QRMP. Will take some time. Once you thorough about the concept, we'll go to the study material and then complete the respective section. Now GSTR1 is being defined in section, is being prescribed in section 37, which talks about details of outward supply. So for my understanding purpose, I can say this is a return. This is in GST return, which will have the details of your outward supply. What about the GSTR3B? It is a summarized return which will talk about the outward supply also, inward supply also, how much is the tax to be paid, etc. Now, what is the QRMP scheme? QRMP scheme, full name, you all know, quarterly return monthly payment. Quarterly return monthly payment, meaning thereby the taxpayer need to file the return on quarterly basis. So I can say the GSTR1, what would be the frequency for those taxpayer who has opted QRMP? The GSTR1 and 3B frequency would be quarterly. But whatever the tax is being due, that has to be paid on monthly. There are two systems. One is a fixed sum method and second is self-assessment method. We will discuss in detail at a later part of the today class. Coming back to the GSTR1, as per 37, section 37, the due date is 10th of succeeding month. I'm talking about monthly GSTR1, 10th of succeeding month. But yes, government by way of notification, commissioner has the power to extend the due date, and the due date is being extended to 11th of next month. What is the due date of the GSTR1? As per rule, as per provision, GST law, that is 10th, but commissioner has the power to extend. They have extended and notification has been issued. If it is monthly, the GSTR1 to be filed by 11th, and if it is quarterly, by 13th. Go to page number 10.10. What is the due date of the GSTR1? What is the due date of the GSTR1? So as per provision, as per GST law, that is on or before by 10, but yes, can be extended by the commissioner, and the date has been extended. What is the date? The date is, in case of the monthly, it is 11th, and in case of the QRMP, it is 13th day of the month succeeding the such tax period, means after the end of the quarter. So that is about the GSTR1 due date. What is QRMP and what is IFF? What is QRMP and what is IFF? Let me explain you. Can anybody tell me the full name of IFF? Can anybody tell me the full name of IFF? I hope in the last class we have discussed and you remember what is the full form of IFF. The IFF is Invoice Furnishing Facility. Is Invoice Furnishing Facility. It is to be followed or filed by the QRMP taxpayer. It is optional, not mandatory. It is optional, not mandatory. What is the use? What is the use or purpose? So that if I am a supplier, I have opted QRMP, you are my recipient, you are purchasing something from me and you are monthly filer of the return. Repeating again, I am a supplier who has opted QRMP, you are a recipient, you are filing the GST return on monthly. If I have made the supply, you can't take the input tax credit because the transaction will appear in the GSTR 2A and 2B only when I file the GSTR 1, that is after the end of the quarter. To remove this problem, government has introduced QRMP and in that IFF. So this will help to the recipient. What is the use? This will help to the recipient so that they can take the ITC on monthly basis. Why? Because the transaction will appear in 2A and 2B of the recipient when the supplier file the IFF. When the supplier will file the IFF. So in the quarter, there are 3 months. So let's say we are talking about Jan to March quarter. January, February, and March. So going forward in the subsequent discussion, I will use month 1, I will use month 2. I will use month 1 and I will use month 2. So IFF, the supplier, the taxpayer who has opted QRMP will file the IFF for month 1 and month 2. For month 3, there is no IFF because for that quarter, GSTR 1 to be filed. What is the difference between GSTR 1 and IFF? What is the difference between GSTR 1 and IFF? The GSTR 1 would contain the details. GSTR 1 would contain the details of B2B as well as B2C. But in the IFF, only B2B detail need to be entered. Only B2B detail need to be entered. Allow me only 1 minute. In the IFF, we are entering only B2B detail. The purpose was also the recipient should be able to take ITC. Who is taking the input tax credit? The party who is registered. So obviously, the person who is registered to whom I am making the supply is B2B transaction. Maximum I can add the value of the 50 lakhs in a month. Maximum upper cap is 50 lakhs. It is mandatory, no optional. Does it have any due date? Yes, 13th after the end of the month. Can we file after 13th? Answer is no. Can we file after 13th? Answer is no. Do we need to file GSTR IFF for month 3? Answer is no. Why no? Because we are filing the GSTR 1 for that quarter. total invoice, let's say total invoice for the quarter is 10. There are 10 tax invoice in the quarter. I am QRMP taxpayer. In the month 1, I have furnished the 2 B2B transaction. In month 2, I have furnished 3 B2B transaction. Then should I, when I file the GSTR 1 for that quarter, should I repeat those invoice? Should I disclose those invoice? Answer is no. The balance invoices need to be reported in the invoice furnishing, need to be reported in the GSTR 1 for that quarter. The invoice which has already been furnished in the IFF would not be added in the GSTR 1. Going to the study material so that we can see if anything is left for the IFF. I have explained, now we will see is any other point which is missed by me. IFF is a facility provided to the QRMP, file their returns, quarterly taxpayer who are in QRMP scheme, IFF is optional, not mandatory. And this option, a registered person may choose to furnish the details of the outward supply made during the quarter in the GSTR 1 only. If he want not to add, he is okay, no problem. What is the benefit? The transaction will appear in GSTR 2A, 2B of the concerned recipient. Up to a cumulative value of the 50 lakhs is maximum in each of the first 2 months. Tax, the invoice are to be furnished in IFA between first day of the succeeding month till the 13th day of the succeeding month. After 13th, IFF would not be available. The said IFF would, however, be available, say for the month of the July from 1st to 13th. Similarly, for the month, that is okay. Now, what are the details to be captured in the IFF? The invoice-wise details of inter or intra made to registered person, which is called as B2B. Whether it is inter or whether it is intra, all the details need to be entered in the IFF. Debit and credit note, if any, issued during the month for the invoices issued previously. Jamil, it will not come automatically. It will not come automatically and not required to be added because this is monthly. It will be separately counted, and in the GSTR 1 you need to report the balance. There is no requirement to appear also, that you cannot add also, but impact would come in the GSTR 3B. Any other question on the IFF? What are the case? The registered person is debarred from furnishing the details of the outward supply. Important, you may ask theoretical question. When the supplier is debarred from GSTR 1 or IFF, the point number 1, registered person shall not be allowed to furnish GSTR 1 if he has not furnished the 3B for the preceding 2 months. In case of the monthly and in case of the QRMP, he has not furnished the GSTR 3B for the preceding tax period. So if I am monthly taxpayer, I have not furnished the GSTR 3B for the 2 preceding month, and in case if I am opting QRMP for preceding tax period, I have not, or for preceding quarter, I have not furnished the GSTR 3B. So if I am not furnished, I would be debarred from filing the GSTR 1 or IFF as the case may be. Third, registered person who is restricted from using the amount available in the electronic credit ledger to discharge the liability in excess of the 99%. I hope you all know that there is a rule 86 capital B. If applicable, then maximum 99% ITC can be used for discharging the tax liability. 1% has to be paid through electronic cash ledger. then a registered person who is restricted from using the amount maximum 99% shall not be allowed to furnish the details of the outward supply in the GSTR1 or IFF if he has not furnished the return in the 3B for the preceding tax period. What is meant by debar? Debar means one cannot furnish. One cannot furnish GSTR. See, GSTR1 is applicable, but he is not possible. He cannot furnish. Why? Because he is the defaulter of some return in the preceding period. So there are the three possibilities. If question can come, then you should write accordingly. Also, there is one question. A taxpayer cannot file the GSTR1 before the end of the current tax period. Is there any exception? See, normally, point to be understand, normally the GSTR1 would be filed only after the end of the tax period. For example, I am talking about monthly GSTR1. Then once the month would be completed, I can file the GSTR1. Or suppose I am talking about IFF, then I would be able to furnish or quarterly GSTR1, I would be able to furnish after the end of the quarter. Is there any exception? Answer is yes. It has been asked. What is the exception? Casual taxable person after the closure of their business and cancellation of the GSTIN of a normal taxpayer. The taxpayer who is applied for cancellation will be allowed to file GSTR1 after confirming the receipt of the application. So in these two categories, the above rule would not be applicable. What is the rule? The rule is taxpayer cannot file the GSTR1 before the end of the current tax period. It means casual taxable person, and in case of the cancellation, the taxpayer would be allowed to file the GSTR1 even during that tax period. Yes. Somesh, just wait for some time. I will open the GST portal as last time I will explain. As in the last class, I will explain. I will explain in the same pattern. Let me complete some theory provisions and then we'll come back. We'll go to the GST portal. Online, I will explain IFF, GSTR1, etc. Jai Gandhi. In short, I can explain there is a rule 86 capital B which talks about if your turnover is greater than 50 lakh, then you have to pay the tax liability 99% from ITC maximum and 1% you had to pay through utilization the electronic cash ledger. There are certain exceptions in case of the refund, in case of the government, in case of the cumulative effect, in case some already income tax amount ITR is being filed with some tax liability, then it is not applicable. You can go to this particular provision and then see the applicability. Debarred provision for monthly pay is 2 months and for quarterly is the debarred provision. What is the debarred? For see, if I am filing monthly, then I have not furnished GSTR 3B for the previous 2 months. And in case of the QRMP, I have not furnished the previous period. It means quarterly. Is it okay? Now, what is the content of the GSTR1? Let me open the GST portal. Now we are talking about GST return content of the GSTR1. IFF, I will also explain, but let me explain first the content of the GSTR1. I'm going to the return services and return dashboard. If I go to the return dashboard, then it will show the return applicable. You can see the details of the outward supplies of the goods and services. It is monthly, and what is the due date? 11th of next month. What is the due date? 11th of next month. Y11, as per provision, it is 10th, but commissioner has extended the date. But commissioner has extended the date to 11. That is the reason. Fine. So what is the content of the GSTR1? I am talking about page number 13 of study material. Page number 13 of study material. So in short, you can see from here, but in detail, I will explain on the government portal. So what is the content? What is the content? Basic detail, GST number, legal name, trade name, aggregate turnover, year and month, HSNY summary, details of the document issued. What is the details of outward supply? B2B, including UIN holder, B2C, interstate more than 2.5 lakh, consolidated B2C detail. This I will explain the point. Just wait for some time. Zero rated supplies and deemed export, debit note and credit note, nil rated, exempted, non-GST, and which is that outward supply. Amendment, advances received and adjustment. These are the information which is to be captured in the GSTR1. Now I will explain from the government portal what is that. If I go to the GSTR1, it is talking about add details. This table is talking about B2B invoices. B2B invoices means registered to registered. This table 5 and table 7. These two tables are talking about B2C. B2C means registered to unregistered. Rakesh Vyas, CTP ITC is not available. When why? They need to pay the taxes. Casual taxable person need to pay the taxes, right? And CTP they need to pay the GST on advance, and they cannot make the supply before taking the GST registration. At least they have to make the application 5 days in advance. So they have to report the supply, right? They have to report the supply. Namrata, just wait for some time. I will come to this amendment part. I will explain your question. Now B2C means registered. I am registered, but suppose my recipient is not registered. That is B2C transaction. It is divided in two parts. If the supply is interstate, it means from one state to the another state, and invoice value greater than 2.5 lakh. Point to be noted that supply is interstate, invoice value is greater than 2.5 lakh. Then they need the information invoice wise. GSTR1 is asking the information of invoice wise to be entered, but other than table 5, it means it can be B2C intra or it can be B2C inter but invoice value 2.5 lakh. It is need the consolidated information. Try to understand, ask the question, no problem. I am talking about the GSTR1, that is details of the outward supply. B2B transaction, always invoice wise information. Irrespective of the value, invoice wise information means I have the 10 invoices in the tax period. I have to add all 10 tax invoice separately. If it is a B2C, then divide in two parts. The supply can be interstate, invoice value greater than 2.5 lakh, then they also need the invoice wise information. And rest all B2C transaction, it means enter invoice value up to 2.5 lakh or intra any invoice value that should be consolidated enter. Consolidated means it will be clubbed and all the 10 tax invoice value to be entered in the table 7, but that will be state wise and rate wise. Very good question, Vrinda Agarwal. Because in IFF, we are only entering B2B. So for example, month 1, I have the B2B as well as B2C. Can I enter B2C in the IFF? Answer is no. It means for month 1 B2C, for month 2 B2C, for month 3 B2C, all B2C transaction to be entered in this GSTR1, because in the GSTR1 we can enter everything, but in the IFF we can only enter B2B. Give me the confirmation. Is it clear? This table 5 and table 7, is it clear? Kindly give me the confirmation so that I can move to the next part. This is important. So you can see that B2B supply, whether it is inter or intra, invoice wise details to be entered. If it is B2C, then inter or intra. If it is inter, then divide invoice value is greater than 2.5 or invoice value up to 2.5. If it is greater than 2.5, then we need to give the detail invoice wise. If it is up to 2.5 or all intra-state supply, that will be entered consolidated but state wise. I hope whatever we have discussed that I have explained in the study material as well. Now you can ask any question if you have. Any question, please ask. Sure. I was talking about B2C supply. B2C supply can be inter or can be intra, right? And in case it is inter, C, individual invoice is greater than 2.5 lakh or it is up to 2.5 lakh. If it is greater than, it has to be entered in that table 5, that is invoice wise. But if it is up to 2.5 and intra-state supply any value, these need to be entered consolidated in the table 7, but that to be state wise. Not required to remember the table number because it is not in the syllabus, but I have explained so that you can practically correlate the discussion. B2C, absolutely correct, Sunil Dubey. Let me talk about revision concept. I yet to explain. Just wait for some time. Venkatesan, just wait for some time. I will explain the amendment part and also why I have used the word for the previous tax period, the debit and credit note. Now this is talking about export invoices. This is talking about nil rated non-GST or exempted supplies. What is the debit note and credit note? We have discussed in the invoice accounts and records chapter. Am I right? So debit and credit note, if you remember section 34, we have talked about if invoice is having the wrong taxable value, wrong tax amount, or goods has been written or service has been found to be deficit, or taxable value or tax is being charged extra less, we need to issue debit credit note. If we are issuing the debit credit note for the invoices which has already been issued, then in the current period we will use the debit and credit note. Debit and credit note. So I think Namrata, you were asking the question. I hope it is clear. Now the advances received or advances adjustment thereof need to be entered in GSTR1. Advances received, for example, you are paying me rupees 1 lakh to supply the services. Then this 1 lakh I have to enter because I need to pay the taxes. And in the subsequent period, when advance of rupees 1 lakh will be adjusted with my tax invoice, I will report here. So advance received or advance adjustment would be reported. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Give me 1 minute. Advances received or advances adjustment will be reported here only. And HSNY summary means we have discussed. Let me again open the study material. This part we have already discussed in the invoice accounts and records chapter, that if your aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore, then in case of the B2B supply, the total 4-digit need to be. And in case of the B2C supply, it is optional. If your aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore, then 6-digit. HSN would be disclosed as under. Now, the last is document issued. The question is scope of amendment of correcting the entry. Sometimes you may ask this theoretical question also in the exams. Udin Kumar Chaudhary, that is not required in your case because this is out of the syllabus. So today I am not explaining. But all these part are registered B2B transactions, but not to go into so much detail table wise, but because that is not in your syllabus. Otherwise you will have the more confusion. But relevant part I have explained practically. Any very important amendment, Rohini? There is very, very important amendment in this chapter. Section 47, levy of the late fees, and that is also question is being given in RTP. Much important at the end of this particular class, but yes, that is important amendment. Rakesh, B2C interstate attract e-way bill is a different requirement. Details to be uploaded in the GSTR1, whether it is consolidated or invoice wise, that is altogether different requirement. These are the two different requirements. Please do not club. That is the reason you may have the confusion. Might be you say in case of the e-invoice, B2B, it is e-invoice, and in case of the B2C, no e-invoice, but both the case e-way bill is there. So there may be the different requirement, but all these are separate requirement. Now we are talking about amendment and corrections. What is that? First thing, if any entry with respect to invoice, debit note, credit note, or advance received, advance adjustment, can you revise the return? Answer is no. Can you revise the GST return? Answer is no. There is no concept of revising the GST return. So for that, what they have given, they are saying amendment. It means in the current month, if I have entered any wrong informations with respect to invoice, debit note, credit note, etc., in the subsequent tax period, I can do the amendment. Amendment of what? Amendment of all invoices which I have not entered correctly. Might be invoice number, date, GST number, invoice value, tax rate, anything which is being incorrectly entered, you can go in subsequent return, in the same return, but for next month, you can do the amendment. And that is the reason I have told you that amendment for the previous tax period. I hope it is clear. Business to consumer, yes. From registered party to unregistered party, that is the meaning of B2C. That is the meaning of B2C. So you can see the language, table 9, 10, 11, 12, 11, 2, GSTR1 provide for the amendment in the details of the outward supply furnished in the earlier period. Why they are using the earlier period? I hope it is clear. Kindly confirm. this particular why earlier period is word is being used. Is it clear? Kindly confirm. Hereinafter referred as amendment table. The details of original debit note, credit note, refund voucher issued by the taxpayer in the current tax period also has the revision in the debit note, credit note, etc. You can do the amendment. Voucher issued in the earlier. Ordinarily, in amendment table, the supplier is required to give the details of original invoice number and date, the particular of which has been wrongly entered in the GSTR1 of earlier month. For example, invoice number 121, I have entered the wrong GST number. So what I will do, I will go to the GST portal. Let me going to the GST portal. I will use the amendment table. I will use the amendment table, and here I will enter the invoice number. Suppose I have entered wrongly in the previous tax period invoice number 121. Once I will write 121, click on the amendment record, the entire invoice would open, and wherein I can amend the respective details. Please note one thing, in the GSTR1, we are entering some details of the invoice. Whatever the invoice we have issued, we are not required to upload all the invoices. There is not like that. You need to scan all the invoices. You need to upload every details. No, they are asking some detail, invoice number, GST number, invoice date, customer name, etc. Taxable value, tax amount, and total invoice value. We are not required to give the details of the description of the goods or services. Whatever the information which we have entered in the original table, in the amendment table, they need invoice number which you require to amend. And once I enter, click on the amend, entire respective original table would open. I can amend any of the details. I hope it is clear. Kindly confirm. We cannot do the amendment in the same month because there is no requirement of same month. You can correct the information. So for example, I have entered wrong information in the invoice. Correct. Any GST number, value. So I can revise that information immediately. Now, why to do the amendment in the same month? There is not applicable. Ordinarily, in the amendment table, the supplier is required to give the details of original invoice number and the date, the particular which has been wrongly entered and now sought to be amended. However, it may happen that a supplier altogether forgot to include. Now, this is important. Suppose there is a transaction of December 2021. I have not entered in the GSTR1. Will it possible be amended? Answer is no. It is not possible to amend because you have not entered. So you can enter newly in the respective table like it is originally entered. In such case, he would require to furnish the detail of said missing invoice which was issued in the earlier month. Rectification of on the same month, if amendment done in the interest provision, section 50 would be applicable. Number absolutely correct. If there is any tax liability which has not been paid in time, yes, interest would be applicable. But GSTR1 does not have GSTR1 is only the details of the outward supply, but we are paying the taxes through GSTR3. So if you not paid the taxes, whatever the amendment you are doing, and respectively you have not paid the taxes correctly, you need to pay the interest also. So if the supplier discover any error or omission, he shall rectify the same, during which such error or omission is notified, and pay the taxes as well as interest. I hope it is clear. They are also talking about interest to be paid in case there is a short payment in the return to be furnished for such tax period. Time limit for rectification. So suppose for some reason supplier could not make the correction at the time of the filing the GSTR1, can he make such amendment in the subsequent period? Can he make the such amendment in the subsequent period? Or is there any time limit to rectify? Yes. Maximum time limit within which such amendment are permissible is earlier of the following date. Date of the filing of monthly return under section 39 for the month of the September following the end of the financial year, or date of the filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. You please note one thing here, they are talking about date of the filing. If you recall or compare this with section 16 subsection 4, last day to take the ITC, can anybody tell me what was that? Can anybody tell me what is the difference if I compare this provision with the 16.4 of ITC? Rohini, answer is yes, you can make the rectification, but that is the last time. So for year, you can do the rectification, no problem. After the end of the year, you can do the rectification for the transaction of previous financial year, but maximum this date, September or annual return, whichever is earlier. Can anybody tell me what is the difference if I will compare the provision with 16.4 of input tax credit? I'm asking the question. Please give the response. See, if you remember 16.4 using the word due date. And here they are talking about date of the filing of the return under section 39. This is the difference. For the month of the September following the end of the financial year to which it pertains, or date of the filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. So can you explain the scope of amendment? Again, bit confused. So why I am doing the amendment? Sunil, first point, I am doing the amendment because in the previous tax period, it can be monthly or quarterly, I have entered information which is wrong, incorrect. I have identified the error. Now I like to correct. You can do the correction in further, not necessary next month, in future, any tax period. You have made the mistake in the GSTR1, you can rectify in the subsequent GSTR1. In any GSTR1, but that is the last, that is the maximum upper limit. You have to correct whatever the information is wrong after the end of the financial year till September to which such detail pertain, or annual return, whichever is earlier. Give me only 1 minute. Give me only 1 minute. Any question? Yes, absolutely correct, Mansa. Under QRMP 13 and normal case 11, absolutely, Sunil. Next, following September or before annual return, whichever is earlier, 16.4 is the due date, 20th October or 31st December, whichever is earlier. Namrata, you are saying 20th October because you are talking about due date. If you compare the maximum time limit within such amendment are possible, that is talking about date of the filing of monthly returns. 16 for due date, absolutely correct. Moving further, so it is also highlighted, it may be noted that expression due date is missing in time limit prescribed in 37.3. Yes, this can also be the one of the questions, short question. Can we file a GSTR1 nil? If yes, then what is the possible mode? Nil GSTR1 or any document, in some time you will see the nil GSTR3B, nil GSTR4, all any nil GST return. Filing of the GSTR1 is mandatory for all categories of the taxpayer. Even if there is no transaction, no business activity in a particular period, for such tax period, nil GSTR1 is required to be filed. Nil GSTR1 does not have any entry For example, nil GSTR1 for tax period cannot be filed. Suppose I have some outward supply, some exempted nil rated supply, some debit note, credit note. It means if I have any information, it is not the nil GSTR1. Nil GSTR means no transaction, not taxable, not exempt, not B2B, not B2C, not inter, no transaction. I can go and file the nil GSTR1. Nil GSTR1 is the facility which can be furnished through SMS also. If the question is being asked, must mention this word that nil GSTR1 can be filed through an SMS also using the registered mobile number. GSTR1 submitted through SMS is verified by the mobile number based OTP facility. A taxpayer can file the nil GSTR1 anytime from the first day of the month subsequent of the tax period. For example, GSTR1 for April month can be filed from 1st May onward. That we all know that during the tax period we cannot furnish. There are 2 exceptions, and apart from that, every GSTR1 can possible only after the end of the tax period, that is 1st of next month or 1st of after the end of the quarter. Annual return GSTR9, sir. There is a separate discussion on the annual return. There is a separate discussion on annual return. We will discuss, but just to answer your question, the form number is the GSTR9 for regular and 9A for composition. Select right answer. In the GSTR1, we are filing the details of outward supply, we are filing the details of inward supply, or we are filing the details of both the transaction. Please select the correct answer. Option A, outward supply, option B, inward supply, and option C, both the details. Please confirm, because based on the Namrata answer, I could find that there is some confusion. Let me clarify. We are entering the details in the GSTR1 with respect to the outward supply, option A, with respect to inward supply, option B, or with respect to both, option C. The right answer is only outward supply. So only outward transaction, whether we are entering inward transaction in the GSTR1, answer is no. Only outward supply we are entering in the GSTR1. Now we are talking about GSTR2A versus GSTR2B. We are talking about GSTR2A versus GSTR2B. Sushil Kumar Barik, only outward transactions, not inward, not both. Both in QRMP, but B2B in IFF case, no, not both. Abhay, I hope it is clear, and rest all the participant. Tanu, I hope it is clear. Honor, every GSTR1, every GST return, whether it is GSTR1 or 3B, has to be furnished on or before the due date. If not furnished, late fees would be leviable. Even late fees is leviable in case of the nil return. Answer is yes. It is applicable. What is applicable, we will discuss, but please note, there is amendment in the GST return late fees, and that amendment is much important for the May 22 exams. Jai Gandhi, if my sale from the 1st Jan to 31st, the due date of the payment of the tax, no. The due date of the payment of the tax is linked to the due date of the GSTR3B. The due date of the payment of the tax is linked to 2 factors. Are you opting QRMP or monthly? If you are under QRMP, then something different date. And if it is monthly, then something different date, but it is linked to the GSTR 3B in case of monthly. That is 20th. So we were talking about what is the difference between GSTR 2A and 2B. See, we can see the details in GSTR 1. We can see the details in 2A and as well as in 2B. What is the difference? Let me click and identify one difference. What is written? What is written? GSTR 2B shall be available only after cutoff date. It means you can see the GSTR 2B only after 13th. Sure. Okay, I think GSTR 2B is a static document. See, one word has to be there. The 2B is a static document, 2A is a dynamic document. What is the difference? Let me explain you. But what is 2A, 2B? In one part, both are same. Why both are same? Because these contain the inward or these contain the purchase entry. If I like to remember what is that nature of the 2A, 2B, that is nothing but my purchase registered from registered party. Purchase entry from registered party. Arun has made the purchase from registered party. The party will file the GSTR 1. It will appear in my 2A and 2B. What is the difference? Let me discuss. Let me tell you, but before that, what is the similarity in 2A, 2B? Both will contain B2B transaction, inward transaction, not outward. Because for my outward transaction, which I have entered in my GSTR 1, it will appear in the recipient, respective recipient 2A or 2B. I hope it is clear. The GSTR 1 is the outward supply, 2A and 2B is talking about or reflect the details of inward transaction. 2B is available only after a particular date, but 2A is dynamic document you can see at any point of time. Yes. The GSTR 2A will talk about B2B invoices, debit credit note, ISD credit, TDS credit, also import detail, etc. GSTR 2A is a system generated read-only statement of inward supply for a recipient. This statement is updated on real-time basis, meaning thereby supplier file the GSTR 1 whether within due date or after the due date, respective tax period GSTR 2A would be updated. For example, I have made the purchase in the month of Jan. For example, I have made the purchase in the month of the Jan. Supplier has opted monthly. He has to furnish the GSTR 1 by 11, but he's furnishing, let's say, on 25th. Let's say on 20th is furnishing. The same would appear in my GSTR 2A on real-time basis of same month of January. It will appear in the GSTR 2B. It will not appear in same month. It will appear in next month. Try to understand this difference. See, Sonali, it is talking about my purchase entries which I have made, which I have taken, which I have purchased from my registered, from any registered party. Why so? Because then only the supplier will file the GSTR 1. When he filing the GSTR 1, he will enter my GST number and therefore it will appear in my 2A. So basically, the one foolproof document for the government to identify the eligible ITC. To some extent, we can say we can't change anything in the 2A 2B because it's my only read-only document. I will come back why it is not appearing in same month, next month. The details become available to the recipient for view or download and are updated incrementally as and when supplier upload or change the detail in the respective form of the return for the given tax period. Can you make the amendment? It means recipient can make the amendment? No. Recipient can only see corresponding supplier. Whenever he use the amendment feature, it will automatically update the 2A and 2B. Absolutely correct, Pooja. Absolutely correct. So details of the outward supply furnished by the supplier in the GSTR1 or IFF is made available electronically in GSTR2A for regular dealer, composition dealer GSTR4A and ISD GSTR6A. If my supplier opting monthly, he will file the GSTR1. If he is opting quarterly, then also he can file the IFF for B2B transaction. So he will show my purchase and therefore it will appear in my 2A. As I shown that GSTR2A will not only talk about B2B purchases. It will talk about debit credit note. It will talk about ISD credit. It will talk about TDS also. It will talk about import of the goods transactions also. And that is the point. It is being written in the notes institute material. The details of the invoice furnished by the non-resident taxable person in GSTR 5, ISD in the GSTR 6, TDS by the deductor in GSTR 7, TCS by e-commerce operator in the GSTR 8 will be made available to the recipient in the GSTR 2A. Further, IGST paid on import of the goods or goods brought in the DTA from SEZ unit or developer on a bill of entry are also made available in the 2A. All these transactions will be not in your part. It will be the part of the CA final syllabus, but you just need to remember only for 2A. ISD full form is input service distributor. Input services distributor. There's a concept of head office and branches. The head office can transfer the credit to the branches through ISD. For that, they will file the GSTR 6, but that is not in our syllabus. So I'm not talking about in detail. Yes. Anita, that is good question. What is the need of having 2B when we have the 2A? Because now the government like to impose the restriction. You can take the ITC only when the supplier filed the GSTR1 by due date. This is the only difference. Suppose if today supplier filed a GST return of any month, for example, they are filing the GSTR1 of December 2021, it will appear in my December 2A at the same time, irrespective of the fact whether supplier filing it by the due date or filing not after the due date. But 2B is saying 2B will reflect the data only when the supplier filed the GSTR1 by the due date. Now they are trying to shift. They are trying to shift the ITC instead of 2A. They are shifting to 2B. Why they are shifting to 2B? They need the compliance in time. Is it clear, Anita? Now, what is 2B? 2B is auto-drafted read-only statement made available to the registered person. But what is the keyword? That is the keyword. This point has to be come in your answer. This word should come in your answer that GSTR2A is a dynamic document which is on real-time basis, but it is a static document. If the supplier file the GSTR1 by the due date, it will appear in that particular 2B. Otherwise, it will go to the next 2B. Now try to understand this, and then I will answer the question if you have. So I am talking about February month return, Feb month return. Try to understand this. If it is clear, give me the confirmation, then I will read the language, because comparatively the language would be tough if you directly read. We are talking about the GSTR 2B. Correct. All are monthly taxpayer. Supplier is filing the GSTR1 on monthly. The Feb month return would be filed by 11th of March. If supplier, say supplier is S limited and customer is R limited, recipient is R limited. If supplier filed the GSTR1 by 11th of March, we are talking about GSTR1 of Feb, then it will appear in the GSTR2B of Feb itself. If the supplier filed the GSTR1 of Feb by the due date is 11th March, then it will appear in the respective recipient in the GSTR2B of Feb month itself. If suppose they are filing on 12th of March, it will goes to the March GSTR2B. If GST return, that is GSTR1, is being filed for the month of the Feb by the due date, it will appear in same month 2B. Otherwise, it will be goes to the next month 2B. Is it clear? First confirm this part is clear or not. Just confirm this slide is clear or not. The transaction will appear in the same month or next month. Reason, if by the due date or after the due date. Just confirm this part. I will take the question, whatever you are asking the question, I will definitely take. But first confirm whether this part is clear or not. Sure, Nitin, I will explain. Sunil Dubey, I will definitely explain. Give me the confirmation whether this part is clear or not. Only this part, same month or next month. Confusing. Hariharan, I am explaining again. Simply, you are talking about Feb month return. Whether the transaction will appear in the Feb 2B or not. This is my question. The answer is, if the supplier filed the GSTR1 by the due date, it will appear in same month. If he is filing the GSTR1 after the due date, it will goes to next month. The details of outward supply furnished by the supplier in the GSTR1 other than QRMP between the immediately after the due date of furnishing the return of the previous month to the due date of the current GSTR1 for the month. Due date 20, right? Once again, explain with the example. Definitely, I will explain with the example. Sir, by filing, we mean paying the taxes. We are paying the taxes in GSTR3B. Right now, we are talking about GSTR1. Right now, we are talking about GSTR1. We are paying the taxes through 3B. So not here, we are not required to pay any taxes. Filing means only reporting the details and submitting with OTP or DSC. Fine, I will explain again. What is the difference between GSTR 2A and 2B? Let me repeat again. The GSTR 2A and GSTR 2B is both containing my purchase transaction. So I can say this is my inward transaction detail. Correct. 2A will be updated on real-time basis. There is no concept of cutoff date, due date. Whenever the supplier filed the GSTR1 of any month, it will appear in the same month of GSTR2A. So in example, February month return filed by due date or after due date, doesn't matter. The transaction will appear in 2A of Feb only. even after filing the GSTR, after the due date, GSTR1 of the FAB is being filed, still it will updated in the 2A of FAB month. But what is 2B? The 2B is static document which is being fixed. If we are talking about FAB month return, GSTR1 is being filed by the due date, it will appear in the FAB 2B. If it is being filed after due date, 12th March to 11th April. Why 11th April? Because 11th is the next month due date. It will appear in March 2B. There will be no GSTR 2B in the FAB. Absolutely correct, Gayatri. If supplier not filing the GSTR1 by the due date, there will be no transaction in my 2B of FAB month. Because now they are linking it is not in your syllabus, but I am explaining just for your sake of knowledge. Now they are linking the ITC based on the GSTR2B, not based on the GSTR2A. In the time to come, when you will be in the final, then you will see the changes. You will see the changes. The changes has already been introduced by Finance Bill 2022. They have already introduced the changes. Now, when you will be in the final, you will see the ITC base would not be the 2A, it would be 2B. And why 2B? Because government also need supplier should file the GSTR1 in time, should pay the taxes in time, then only we can give the ITC to customer in time. If the GSTR1 is being filed late after due date, we will not give the ITC to the customer in the same month. We will give the ITC linking with the GSTR2B. Is it clear? Kindly confirm. If it's still confusion, you let me know. I will explain again. But give me the confirmation. Concept is clear or not? Just give me the confirmation. 2A is available on real time. Yes, Pooja. After supply file, even after supplying the GSTR1. Yes, absolutely correct. And clear, it will appear. Not clear. Sushil, once again, please confirm. Filing mean paying the taxes. Sub clear hai sir. Great, Inderpal. Clear hai. Can you repeat? Hariharan, I hope it is clear now. Give me the confirmation. Is it clear now? Because this concept has to be developed, then only you will be able to give the answer of any question. This will create mismatch. This will create mismatch. Yes, this will create mismatch. And that is the reason the department nowadays asking the reconciliation between 2B versus ITC, 2A versus 2B, various reconciliation we need to produce. After the appearance of the detail, they can claim the ITC, right, Sunil? But not right now. In your syllabus, it is whatever the provision is there in the ITC, that will remain. But in going forward, they are talking about ITC based on the 2B, not on the 2A. Due to the delay filing return, some interest will be levy. Sushil Barik, yes, we have discussed this partner. Correct. Supplier has to pay the tax, and if it is after the due date, then they have to pay the interest also under section 50. I am filing so many GST return every month as article, but now I am understanding exactly what is 1 2A to be. Great, Anita. Due to delay return, some interest will be levy. Concept clear? Yes, sir. Clear. It's good decision that to be used for ITC. Great. Clear. After filing the due date, there is any charges? Yes. We need to discuss the late phase. That is, again, I'm saying very important for this attempt. Why? Because there is a good amendment in the late phase. Rationalization of the late phase is being applicable for this attempt. That is the reason that question is very important. Sunil, your doubt, I hope I have given the answer. You are asking that after appearance of the detail, they can claim the ITC. Yes, I have given the answer right now. ITC on 2B, not on 2A, not real time. Yes, sir. Yes, but in the time to come, as per syllabus, as per theoretical provision, as per your attempt, you should go according to the current provision. But in future, when you will be in the final, you will see the amendment of the finance bill would also be applicable for your exams, and you will see these changes. If my supplier not upload the invoice on time, means how much I can claim in that month, whatever the amount is being appearing in the 2B. I'm asking now. You have already discussed the ITC chapter. Not make any confusion of whatever the point I am discussing, because I am giving the perspective logic behind the 2B also. Now let me go back. Let me now we are moving further. You can discuss this. I have explained. You can discuss this theoretical part. Correct. What is this? GSTR 3B. Now, what is the GSTR 3B? So GSTR 3B, Sunil Dubey, when it come in 2B, then you can claim the ITC. So it will come in 2A based on the date of, even though any on real-time basis. So for example, they are filing the today, so it will appear in some 2B, and whenever it appear in 2B, you can claim in that month. Silpa, yet to discuss this point. Bit detail point is there. Section 47, levy of the late fee. Just wait for some time. We will discuss. Coming to the section 39 return, GSTR 3B. What is the GSTR 3B? GSTR 3B is a monthly return earlier. Now it is a QRMP quarterly return also. Correct. GSTR 3B, we need to furnish the details of summarized details of inward, outward, RCM, etc. And we need to file the GSTR 3B along with taxes. We will take the break at 7:20 till 7:30. We will take the break at 7:20 till 7:30, 10 minutes. As usual, the class would goes to 9 o'clock. Today, we will discuss one RTP, one question, which will be useful, and it is linked to my all chapter. So it will be practically, you will be able to handle one question of RTP. A person eligible to file the return, periodicity and form of the return, prescribed a monthly return for every registered person, but other than ISD, non-resident taxable person, composition person, deducting the tax at source, a person collecting the tax at source, OIDAR, and located in the non-taxable territory, providing the service to the non-taxable online recipient and within such time and such period as may be prescribed. Okay. So that theoretically you can, these are the 3B is not applicable to whom? ISD, NRTP, composition, TDS, PCS, OIDAR, it is not applicable. Government may, on the recommendation of the council, they can specify the class of the registered person who shall furnish the return on, instead of the monthly, they can furnish the return on quarterly. And that is the reason we are going to discuss the QRMP scheme. GSTR 3 was the initial return notified, but after that 3 was never came. So they have made the GSTR 3B in lieu of the GSTR 3. So now we have the monthly return GSTR 3B. GSTR 3B contain the details of outward supply, inward supply, reverse charge, ITC, payment of the taxes, etc. Please note, we are not required to give the detail invoice wise. We need to give that summarized detail. 3B can be submitted electronically through the common portal, or it can be filed through SMS if it is a mail. See the due date. If you are filing the GSTR 3B on monthly, it is 20th of next month. If you are filing the GSTR 3B on monthly basis, it is 20th. If you are filing the GSTR 3B on quarterly, either 22 or 24. Why 2 date? Why 2 date? These 2 dates are made so that there should not be the huge pressure on the portal. So they have divided the India in 2 parts, and for that they have fixed the due date, either 22 or 24. You can go on the some pages, it is there. It is there. The state like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, etc. all have the due date of 22, and certain states are 24. So therefore we are saying staggered manner. Is it applicable for monthly? Answer is no. It is applicable only quarterly return filer was opted QRMP, and then they will file the GSTR 3B based on either 22 or 24. Who is eligible for QRMP? The taxpayer having the aggregate turnover not exceeding 5 crore. So if can I go to QRMP, I have to check my previous period aggregate turnover. If it is up to 5 crore, I can opt QRMP. If it is more than 5 crore, I do not have any option. But assume I have the aggregate turnover below 5 crore. Still, I can go for monthly. Answer is yes. This option is available with me if my aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore. I can go QRMP, I can opt QRMP, or I can go to monthly as well. So where I have to give this option, where I have to select this option is available in the GST portal. This option is available in the GST portal. Let me open the portal and let me show you how this option is to be chosen. OIDR means online information database access retrieval services like online gaming, etc. We can say the Netflix. We are seeing the movie online. Everything is online. So that is the concept of OIDAR. There is a separate provision, section 14 of IGST Act, which is again not applicable for this. I think CA Inter. It is in the final. Sir, if I purchase the goods from registered and then he did not upload my invoice, may I eligible for ITC? Answer is no. That is the big problem. What difference will it make if it appear in same in 2A or if it appear in different in 2B? Anyways, we will get it right, sir. You are get it right, but when you get the ITC, when you are eligible to take ITC, suppose government in future they will say in 2B, so your input tax credit is deferred to the subsequent period when it is appearing in 2B. It is appearing anyways, right? But your entitlement to the ITC would defer. What we are talking about that. Let me show you. We are talking about opt-in for quarterly return. See, I explain online, your concept would clear and you will be able easily digest the provisions. Now, see this particular transactions. Currently, it is appearing by default monthly. It means I am the filer for monthly. But that, can I go to quarterly and click on save? Yes. This is the point how I can change my frequency from monthly to quarterly. This is the way how I can change my frequency from monthly to quarterly. Simply, if I like to go for quarterly or monthly, I have to select radio button and then click on the save. That's it. Important, this particular due date or this cutoff date. What is the cutoff date for selection? It means if I like to change from monthly to quarterly or quarterly to monthly, it is not available at any point of time. It is available for a defined period. Let's see this date. You are talking about April to June quarter. Correct? You are talking about April to June quarter. What is the previous quarter? Jan to March. What is the previous quarter? Jan to March. First day of second month. First, what is the second month? January, February, March. The second month is Feb. First day of second month to current quarter ka first month of current quarter. So what is the current quarter? April to June. So current quarter first month till 30th April, you can make the changes. Can I make the change for July to September? Answer is no. Why no? What is the previous period? What is the previous quarter? April to June. What is the second month? May. The option would be started from 1st May to the 31st July. So if someone asked in the exam, if question is being asked in the exam, when you can change the option, you can say that maximum I can change the option of first month last date, and the option would be started from the second month of previous quarter. Is it clear? Newly registered also of QRMP, yes. Is composition scheme and QRMP scheme? No, both are different. QRMP, we are talking about regular registration other than composition. Where I can upload the invoice for export of services, we have discussed, Jamil, table 6A of the GSTR1. Is GSTR1, sir, it is GSTR1, so why GSTR3B? What is the concept? GSTR1 is only talking about detailed information about your sale, outward supply. But 3B, what is the total summarized sale, total input tax credit, net tax liability, and we need to pay the taxes. 3B, 3B is the return by which the government is collecting the taxage. But GSTR1 is only the outward supply detail information, and it is linking with the customer input tax credit. What is the what difference? So we will extend the break time for 5 more minutes. Just allow me the question to give the answer, then we will take the break. Sir, we can't see GST portal screen. Please show us the process again. You can't show the. Oh my God. Sorry. Let me show you let me explain this part after the break. Let me explain this part once again after the break, and we will discuss all the question. QRMP, see, please note, composition is different. QRMP is, see, there are two schemes. There are two categories of registration, section 9 and section 10. Correct. Section 10 is for composition, in which they will file CMP 08 and GSTR 4. Section 9, they are filing the GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. It can be monthly or it can be quarterly. So you please do not mix whether QRMP and composition are same. Answer is no, it is a different. Sir, QRMP is only for the section 9 category, regular category of the registration, and composition is section 10. They are not applicable GSTR 3B, 1, etc. No problem. We are taking the break. We will resume at 7:35. We will resume at 7:35 and we will discuss again from this particular part. Okay. We are taking the break. We will resume at 7:35. We will start from this once again and then we'll go to the question. Thank you. now. We are live now. So fine. Once again, we were discussing about the frequency, how we can change the frequency from QRMP to monthly or vice versa. GST return current frequency would be available to see, but you can change for a particular date. When you can change, for example, you like to change for the next quarter, April to June, you can change maximum by 30th April. You like to change for July to September, maximum you can exercise this option by first month last day. You like to change for October, the last date is 31st October. The government giving to change the option 3 months in advance. 3 months in advance. For example, 30th April is the last day. The option would be started from 1st Feb. Or in other word, I can say, go to the previous quarter. What is the previous quarter? Jan to March. So second month, that is Feb, from first day of second month, the option is available. Which option? To change the frequency from monthly to quarterly or quarterly to monthly. Just give me the confirmation. Is it clear or not? Is it clear or not? You can tick this option, whatever we discussing, that the particular notes in the study material, facility for opting out will be available from first day of second month of the preceding quarter to the last day of the first month of the quarter. Next point, the next small point. The turnover would be checked on aggregate turnover, that is up to 5 crore. I can file the GST R1 and 3B on monthly, on quarterly, but tax has to be paid monthly. The tax would be paid through PMT 06, and there are two methods to pay the taxes. There are two methods to pay the taxes. What is the two method? The one, it's still not clear. Oh, is it? Let me explain once again. No problem. Let me explain once again. So, Sri Sarji, I like to change the option for April to June. What is the cutoff date? The first month last day. It means currently I am in the month of the March. For next quarter, I like to change the frequency from monthly to quarterly or quarterly to monthly. The last date to exercise this option is 30th April. It means simply I will click here and click on the save. My option would change. And when this facility would be started, it would be started 3 months in advance. It means it will be started from 1st Feb. In other word, I can say the preceding quarter, second month. Preceding quarter, second month. Preceding quarter is Jan to March, and second month is Feb. So the option would be started from 1st Feb and it is available till 30th of April. First month, current quarter, first month, last day. And when it will be started? It will be started from the second month of the preceding quarter. Second month of the preceding quarter. I hope it is okay now. Some more point that I have to pay the taxes I have to pay the taxes by one method. Which method? Either fix sum method or self-assessment method. This method will take some time, make it clear, and then we can proceed further. Where this option available in the GST portal? Services under registration, user services under registration. Opt in for quarterly. Now the point is, the point which we are discussing is what is fixed sum method and what is self-assessment method. First, we should understand what is the use of this method, why I should apply this method. If you have opted QRMP and you are filing the GSTR 1 and 3B on quarterly basis, you are filing the GSTR 1 and 3B quarterly basis, but what is MP? Monthly payment of the taxes. How the taxes would be paid? Through PMT 06. What is the due date of the payment of the taxes? 25th of next month. For quarter, there are 3 months, correct? Let's say January, February, March. This is month 1, this is month 2, and this is month 3. Like we have discussed, IFF is applicable for month 1 and month 2. In the same pattern, the taxes would be paid for month 1 and month 2 by this mechanism. For month 3, because we are filing the GSTR 3B, so whatever the tax is being due, we will pay through 3B only. We are paying the taxes through PMT 06. For month 1, January, we will discuss. Sunil Dubey, it is applicable in case the composition PMT 08. So like regular dealer is paying the taxes through PMT 06, composition dealer need to pay the taxes through CMP 08. GSTR 4. QRMP, if my aggregate turnover does not exceed 5 crore and I have opted QRMP, then my return liability would be on quarterly basis, but taxes I have to pay on monthly. Mode would be PMT 06, due date 25th of next month, and it is month 1 and month 2. Because month 3 you are filing the GSTR 3B, you need to pay the taxes whatever it is due for third month. Can we pay the taxes by using FSM or SAM? Any? Yes, you can choose as per your choice. You can switch as per your choice. The name is called as fixed sum method, and it is called as self-assessment method. By the name, it clear that it is talking about certain fixed liability. And by the name, it clear that it is talking about actual calculation. How I can calculate actually? By calculating my total outward supply, by calculating my total eligible input tax credit and net amount. I need to pay the taxes. We are calculating the amount which I need to pay either by using fixed sum method or by using self-assessment method. There is no problem if I am choosing fixed sum or if I'm choosing self-assessment, there is no problem. Now try to understand, fixed sum method is talking about either 35% of the liability or 100% of the liability. What is the difference between 35 and 100? Try to understand. We are talking about January to March quarter. The point which I'm explaining, I'm talking about how much tax I need to pay for Jan and how much tax I need to pay for Feb. What is the due date for Jan tax liability? It would be 25th Feb. What is the due date for Feb month? It would be 25th March. What would be the liability for the month of the March? We are not required to pay the taxes for the month of March through PMT 06 like this mode. I will file the GSTR 3B and the due date of the GSTR 3B would be either 22 or 24, and along with whatever the pending taxes is there, I will pay the taxes. So what we are doing, we are calculating the liability, how much liability I need to pay for month 1 and month 2. It means in fixed sum method, one thing is sure that whatever the amount you are paying in M1, same amount you will pay for M2. There is no changes because it is not based on your actual liability. It is based on the, now I am using the technicality, going into the technicality. It is based on the preceding period tax liability. It is based on the preceding period tax liability. Suppose you are filing the GSTR 3B. Either preceding, it means before Jan. Either you were under QRMP, and you are filing the 3B on quarterly basis, or you are under monthly and you are filing the monthly 3B. Two possibilities there. Why we are calculating? Because we need to determine how much taxes I need to pay for month 1 and month 2. What is the month 1? January, and what is the month 2? February. Why you are calculating? Because I have opted QRMP. It may be that my preceding tax period frequency would also be under QRMP, or maybe I have changed the option for this current tax period. Therefore, my 3B can be previously 3B can be monthly. Now, if your GSTR 3B is under quarterly, it means the last 3B which you have filed is for October to December. It means this shows the liability of 3 months. Whatever the portion which you have paid through cash, while filing the GSTR 3B, either the tax liability is being discharged by using the input tax credit, or if ITC is not sufficient, then you may have used your cash also. Point to be noted, the amount which you paid through cash, multiplied by 35%. If the previous frequency of the GSTR 3B monthly, it means it represents only 1 month, then whatever the portion you paid through cash multiplied by 100, it means equivalent amount to be deposited for month 1 and month 2. Let me explain with the help of example, then I will take your question. Assume Mr. A is QRMP in October to December quarter. Correct. Now he's asking for Jan and Feb, how much tax he need to pay in cash through PMT 06. So I'm not writing entire example. I'm just explaining with some detail. I am saying that for October to December, the total liability in GSTR 3B was 1 lakh. IGST, CGST 50,000, SGST 50,000. He has used input tax credit, say 70,000, nothing. And balance portion he has paid through cash, 30,000 IGST, 50,000 CGST, and 50,000 SGST. Now, please tell me the taxes which he will pay for January month. and February month, will it be 35% or will it be 100%? Give me the answer. First question, Mr. A need to pay the liability for Jan, need to pay the liability for Feb. It will be based on 35% or based on 100%. Give me the answer. Vrinda, yes, taxes need to be paid monthly because MP in the QRMP, MP stand for monthly payment. Yes, Jamil, absolutely correct. You can calculate in the example and tell me, in this example, should I calculate 35% or should I calculate 100%? In this example, should I calculate 35% or should I calculate 100%? Just give me the answer, which percentage would be used in this example. Which percentage would be used in this example? Absolutely correct. You all have given the right answer. That is 35%. Now tell me 30 for IGST, how much I will pay? 35% of 1 lakh or 35% of 30,000? Please tell me, I will calculate on cash portion or I will calculate on gross liability. I will calculate 35% on the gross portion or on the cash portion. On the gross portion or on the cash portion. So gross tax liability or the liability which is being discharged through cash, on which portion I will apply 35%. I will apply 35%, absolutely correct. Will I apply on the gross tax liability or will I apply the liability which is being paid through cash? Or cash, not gross, cash. Absolutely correct. It would be because we have discussed the taxes which we are paying on monthly, that would be 35% or 100%. It would be applied on the cash portion, not on the gross portion. It means in this particular, I will calculate 35% of this amount. I will apply 35% of 30,000, whatever the amount come, you can calculate. 5250, is it? It would be approx 10,000, something like that. 1/3 ho gaya na? It is 1/3, right? So you can calculate. So 30,000 multiplied by 35%. So it would be 10,500. The answer would be on the net tax liability which is being paid through cash. Sushil, is it clear? Sushil, is it clear? Sahu, Khushia Sahu, is it clear? Because you are talking about gross tax liability, you are talking about 100%. It would be 35%. It would be on the net liability which is being paid in cash. On cash portion only. Absolutely correct. Now moving to the next question. If in the last question, the GSTR frequency is monthly in the previous preceding tax period, it was on monthly. So he is filing the last 3B for the month of December because he is under monthly scheme. So would it be 35% or would it be 100%? Previous quarter, we are paying the tax for previous liability. We are paying the previous tax cash for the liability for the month or quarter of the December. We are calculating for January liability. We are calculating for February liability. Is it clear? Vrinda. Sushil Kumar is saying, it is not clear. We are running very short of time. Sushil, I request, we have a lot of point to be pending. Let me explain in short. Still, I will explain in short. In the last example, I was talking about that you need to check the previous frequency. You need to check the previous frequency. What is that previous frequency? It was quarterly. So the percentage would be 35%, not the 100%. Percentage would be 35, not the 100. If it is monthly frequency, then the percentage would be 100. This 35 or 100 would be applied on the cash portion, not on the gross portion. Is it okay? So two things I have explained. Whether you apply 35 or 100 based on the depend on the previous frequency. If the previous frequency is again QRMP, you will apply 35% on what? Cash portion which you are paying. So in this example, you are paying 30,000 IGST in cash, 50C, 50S. You will apply on this amount that 35%. And I am changing the example. Suppose I am saying in the previous tax preceding quarter, frequency was not under QRMP, it was monthly. Then what would be your answer? You will say the same amount would be paid for month 1 and month 2 because it will be 100%, not the 35%. Does it make sense? Just confirm. We always file and pay taxes on quarterly. It is QRMP. Why, sir? It is not. It is not possible. If you are doing so, there may be some reason. There may be some reason we can discuss. Now the answer would be 100%. What we are doing, we are trying to calculate. We are trying to calculate the how much amount we need to pay. How much amount we need to pay. So the amount which we need to pay will be depend upon the fixed sum method or self-assessment method, right? In the fixed sum method, the 35% of the tax paid in cash in the return for the preceding quarter where the return was furnished quarterly, and if the preceding quarter frequency was monthly, then I have to pay equal amount. Not, you will not see 100% tax. Whatever the liability you paid in cash for the preceding preceding quarter, then whatever the amount you paid in that return, December month 3B, you pay equal amount in January and equal amount in February. So you may ask the question on fixed sum method if you have. So you can see in this example. Also, one more example. Let me also explain one more example. In this particular January, February, March, the frequency was quarterly 100 rupees, 100 rupees, 550. And in this period, they are asking that how much amount will be paid in month 1 and month 2. So I can say 35, 35 and 175, 17.5. Please note tax paid in cash. The amount has been given. How much amount you have paid in cash. Now the second example, you will have the more clarity. In the second example, they are saying the last return filed was monthly. So I can say equal amount would be paid in month 1 and month 2. We can pay tax quarterly? No. Answer is no. If there is a liability, you need to pay. Otherwise, not. If you are paying after 25th or you are not paying, then interest under section 50 would be leviable. Absolutely correct, Rakesh. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. No more benefit. That was the point. Rohini has raised correct point. If I paid output tax by using the full ITC, is there any liability? Now, this I'm asking the question to all of you. Suppose in the preceding quarter or preceding month, I have paid the total liability by utilizing the input tax credit. Do I need to pay any taxes in month 1 and month 2? Answer would be no, because the requirement is the liability which you paid in cash. If the liability is nothing being paid in cash, all the liabilities being discharged through ITC, I'm talking about the previous tax period, then nothing to be paid in month 1 and month 2. It can't be changed. You can change, but the period which I have told you that you can make the changes maximum by first month of the current period, current quarter. If I paid output tax fully, sir, as we charging 3,500, where we will be depositing it? I will explain that the taxes will be paid. So let me answer this question also, where I am depositing this amount. So I go to the payment, and create the challan. When I am creating the challan, see, monthly payment for quarterly or any other payment. Monthly payment for quarterly or any other payment. Once I select monthly, once I select monthly payment for QRMP, automatically this is asking whether you are going through fixed sum method or you are going to challan on self-assessment basis, self-assessment method. So they are asking that whether you are making the payment through FSM, fixed sum method, or you are making through self-assessment method. Can I pay excess 35%? Yes, you can pay. You can pay. See, minimum the taxes is the minimum requirement that you have to pay. If you like to deposit extra, no problem. Government would be more happy. If all tax liability is being paid in ITC, then I told the answer that nothing is being paid in cash. So according to fixed sum method, there would be no liability. According to the fixed sum method, there would be no liability. But yet I am moving to the fixed sum method. Is it clear? Till now, is it clear? Is it okay? Are you able to understand everything which I'm explaining? You are saying that for one tax liability, we have to pay for 2 months. No. For one quarter, month 1, there would be separate liability. Month 2, there would be separate liability. Month 3, there would be. In the quarter, if I'll say in the quarter, there are 3 months, Jan, Feb, and March. So you need to calculate for Jan, you need to calculate for Feb, you need to calculate for March. Correct? There are 2 methods. For QRMP month 1 and month 2, we need to pay the taxes either by using fixed sum method or by using self-assessment method. For month 3, it will be clubbed through GSTR 3B only. Is it clear, Anita? Jamil, absolutely correct. No tax liability in month 1 and month 2. Give me the confirmation. Till now, is it clear to all? Till now, is it clear to all? Whatever we have discussed multiple things, but yes, simultaneously, I have shown the portal as well to give more clarity. Tell me, till now, is it clear? Any part, if you have any confusion, please ask. Can change every quarter? Yes, Rohini, we can. Anita, Rohini, we can change every quarter, no problem. Who pays extra? Client tax birthday time, वो काफी है. वो समझा नहीं मैं जमील. वो pay tax, वो pay extra. Not clear, Jamil. Your query is not clear. Please again ask. I am coming, Sunil Dubey. I am coming to the self-assessment method. Self-assessment method is nothing but calculate your output supply minus ITC and balance you need to pay. You actually calculate your output supply, calculate your ITC, what is the net portion you need to pay. Number column on debit side of invoice account. I think now clear number. Yes sir. Yes sir. Clear now. Clear. Yes sir. It is makes sense to me. When no liability in month 1. Is it possible that in self-assessment method? Is it possible that in self-assessment method I am not required to pay anything? Is it possible I am not required to pay anything? Sir, possible. No? Sir, there is no sale. There is no sale. Not required to pay. You need in the self-assessment method means self I need to assess whatever the total outward supply, whatever the total ITC and balance, if any, I need to pay for month 1 and month 2. Please note, in self-assessment method, there would be no same amount because you need to calculate manually. That is the self-assessment method. What is the due date? 25th after the end of the month. If I am not depositing by 25th, I need to pay the interest. Please ask the question. Whatever the question you have, please ask the question. Meanwhile, I will explain short concept. This is saying that when no such amount would be required to be deposited where the balance in the cash ledger or credit ledger is adequate. Suppose you are having the sufficient balance in the electronic cash ledger or credit ledger, not required to pay. Or having the nil tax liability, then again also not required to pay. For the second month of the quarter where the balance in the cash or credit is adequate for the first month and second month quarter, or where there is nil tax liability. So this point always remember that monthly tax payment would not be available if you are defaulter in furnishing the return of complete tax period preceding such month. So if any preceding return is pending, you cannot furnish the return. Sir, in Jan and Feb month, both month में pay करना है? Yes, sir. Same amount? Yes. If you are opting fixed sum method, if you are opting SAM self-assessment, then it would be different. In March month, GST R3B, why? Because we are opting QRMP, quarterly return monthly payment of the taxes. So we need to furnish the GST R3B. So they are saying whatever the balance liability is there, you need to pay the same through 3B. If at the third month there is ITC, then how we will use if we have already paid in first and 2 months? Yes, this is good question. Suppose you paid extra. Why extra? Any reason, either wrongly paid or month 1 and month 2 there is no ITC, but in month 3 there is huge ITC, and now you are coming to conclusion that there is no requirement. So after filing 3B, if there is excess balance in cash, you can take the refund or can carry forward to the subsequent period. It is your option, no problem. If output tax liability is greater than 35% of the cash portion of the previous quarter, what will happen? You mean to say, see, you are, so simply I'm saying calculate the tax liability which is being paid in cash. You are not required to compare, till now you are not required to compare 35%. Output tax liability is how much we have paid in cash multiplied by 35%. This you need to pay for month 1 and month 2. If you are saying it is more than 35%, then you need to pay the balance amount. You need to pay higher amount, right? SAM or see, both are monthly. Fixed sum method or self-assessment method, both are monthly. What is the tax component you need to pay for month 1 and month 2, that you are calculating. AO cannot disagree. AO cannot disagree because the method are available. You can show how you calculate it, and based on that he will identify it, because you are filing the GST R1 also after the end of the quarter, also 3B, so that will match your liability. SA monthly tax liability will not depend on the previous. Yes, absolutely correct. In SAM, it is nowhere linked to the previous tax liability. It is being calculated on the monthly sale, monthly ITC. Self-assessment method, in any case, they can pay the tax due by considering the liability on tax liability on outward supplies and ITC available through payment PMT 06 in order to facilitate the ascertainment of the ITC. auto drafted input tax credit statement has been made. You can calculate the ITC, and now see, they are talking about GSTR 2B. In self-assessment, seller can appoint CA now. Not required. Not required. You yourself very well know that how much is the outward supply, how much is the ITC, then you yourself can calculate. Normally, only for self-assessment, they are not appointing any chartered accountant. That cash balance deposited, it appear in cash ledger. Yes, it will appear in the cash ledger. In FSM, we are calculating monthly tax based on the 3B filed in the previous quarter and month end. Right. In FSM, you are calculating monthly tax liability based on the 3B, and in the 3B, the amount of the liability which is being paid in cash in that 3B. Can I pay month 1 35 and month 2 self-assessment? Possible, Jamil. Possible. It is possible. No problem. Your answer, Jamil, your answer. The registered person under QRMP is free to avail either of the two tax payment method above in any of the 2 months of the quarter. Free to avail either of the two tax payment method in any of the 2 months of the quarter. For month 1, I am using FSM. Can I go for SAM, self-assessment, in month 2? Possible. Let me go to the content of GSTR 3B. Let me go to the content of the GSTR 3B. We have to cover multiple things, just slightly speed. We are taking some speed comparatively. We need to go to the we need to see the GSTR 3B. What is the GSTR 3B content, etc. Content of the 3B is summarized. See, in the GSTR 1, we are talking about the detail. In the GSTR 3B, we are talking about summarized detail of outward supply and inward supply, liable to reverse charge, summarized detail of interstate, made to unregistered, composition dealer and UIN holder, sale, eligible and ineligible ITC, what is the exempt, nil rated and non-GST inward supply, how much you need to pay the taxes, what is the TDS or TCS credit, basic details, GST number, legal name, year, month and quarter. So that is the content of 3B. We are moving to the GSTR 4 for composite dealer. We are moving to the GSTR 4 for composite dealer. So the rule 62 is saying that, see, in case Mansi is saying in fact some method tax liability calculated with past liability, and we do not, yes, ITC for those 2 months. You can consider the tax because you are only calculating the liability on the cash portion. You are already considering the ITC. You are calculating 35 or 100 on which portion? Cash liability. It means you are giving the due weightage to the ITC part. Depending, Jai Gandhi, no one is best. We cannot say that which is best. We have to decide. We have to decide in situation to situation. Tax paid in PMT6 have to be paid in cash only. Absolutely correct, Namrata. In SAM, paying tax means whether the tax is correct calculation or how assessing officer come to know correct or what. He can ask the document. You need to produce the document. What is UIN? Unique identity number. We have discussed the same in the registration chapter. So foreign embassies, consulate, United Nations organization, these are would be allocated UIN. Basically purpose is the refund, so that they can apply refund. So now we are talking about, in short, some concept about the composition dealer, GSTR 4. So if one has opted composition scheme, then he has to file the return on annually. See, there is 3 concepts. Composition dealer need to pay the taxes on quarterly. What is the form number? CMP 08. He has to file GSTR 4 on yearly basis, that is 30th April, after the end of the year. Then there is one annual return also, that is GSTR 9A, and due date is 31st December, after the end of the financial year. See, in case of the composition dealer, what is the requirement? The quarterly, he need to pay the tax through CMP 08, and mode, the due date would be 18th after the end of the quarter. GSTR 4, this frequency is annually, and 30th day of April after the end of the financial year. And now there is also requirement of annual return, that is GSTR 9A. And GSTR 9A, what would be the due date? 31st December after the end of the financial year. We are talking about the person who is registered under section 10 of the CGST Act. There is also, which we are discussed, GSTR 1, GSTR 3B. Here also there is one annual return concept, that is form number GSTR 9 only. Annual return is GSTR 9. Now we are talking about here they have to pay the taxes. Whether composition dealer can take the input tax credit, can he pass the input tax credit? Answer is no. So whatever the taxes they need to pay, they have to pay in cash. They have to pay in cash. GSTR 4 and annual return. So whatever the liability they have to pay in cash, because ITC is not available to the composite dealer. So the frequency of the GSTR 4 is 30th day of the month of April following the end of the financial year. What is the due date of the GST CMP 08? 18th day of the month succeeding the quarter. CMP 08 is for the tax, is for the payment of the taxes. Now, content of the GSTR 4 you can discuss in short. Basic detail: GSTIN number, legal name, trade name, TDS, TCS credit received, tax, interest, late fees payable and paid, refund claim from electronic cash ledger. Details regarding inward and outward supply, invoice wise detail of all inward supply, intra, inter, from registered, from unregistered, including RCM and import of service. For inward supply, composite dealer need to make so much detail: intra, inter, registered, unregistered, including RCM and import of services. Whether RCM is applicable on composition dealer? Answer is yes, it is applicable, except one category is there, security personnel. Apart from that, every category is applicable on composition dealer. They have to pay the tax on RCM. Summary. Now see, summary of self-assessed liability as per CMP 08. So for the year they have used for CMP 08 4 quarter. Whatever the summary is there, they have to provide net of advances, credit note and debit note, any other adjustment due to amendment, etc. Tax rate wise details of the outward supply, inward supplies, attracting RCM, net of advances, then consolidated details of the outward supply. These are the content of GSTR 4. Nil, yes, again nil CMP 08 possible. Filing of the CMP 08 is mandatory for all taxpayer who has opted to pay the tax under composition, even if there is no business. Nil can be filed through SMS, same language, and nil, it means does not have any entry in any of its table. Fine. Statement for the period prior. Now try to understand this table. Yes. What is this table? Regular taxpayer opting to the composition, or composition taxpayer going to the regular scheme. So opting to the composition or exit, opt out from composition. So statement or return relating to the period prior to opting the composition is to be filed till due date of furnishing the return for the month of the September, or annual return, whichever is earlier. What, see, because I am registered in the regular scheme, now I am converting to the composition scheme. Whatever the return, it is applicable for regular scheme, I have to furnish all such statement, all such return by the due date, whichever is earlier. If I am exiting, if I am opting out from composition, it means now I am going to file my regular return. I will file the CMP 08 and GSTR 4. This is 18th and this is 30th of April. CMP means composition. What is the percentage they need to pay under? What is the percentage they need to pay under composition? We are talking about taxes. This is 1% for trader and manufacturer of the goods, 5% for restaurant, and 6% is a service scheme of section 10 subsection 2 capital A. मैं को पूछना था कि ये सर्कुलर हमारे स्टडी मटेरियल नहीं होते, ये सर्कुलर हमारे स्टडी मैट कौन सी सर्कुलर? Mox, you are asking to me. Can you please explain consolidated detail? Consolidated detail of outward supply, it means total 100 tax invoices there. If I'm talking about detailed invoice wise information, it means you are adding 100 times. And if I'm using the word consolidated, it means you are adding total value. Total value of like 100 tax invoice. What is the GSTR 5? If non-resident taxable person who does not have any fixed establishment in India and coming in India for short period to make the supplies in India, they would normally import their product into India and make the local supply. Further, we have discussed in the registration chapter. But if they are coming in India, they like to make the taxable supply, it means they have to take the registration. And what is the mode under which category they can take? They can take under NRTP, non-resident taxable person category. So they need to file the monthly, what the provision we have discussed, they have to file the application 5 days in advance. They have to pay the tax in advance. No annual return. Registered NRTP is not required to file separately the statement of the outward supply and applicable return for a normal taxpayer. In place, the simplified monthly tax return has been prescribed in GSTR 5. So non-resident taxable person will file the GSTR 5 only. It will have the details of outward supplies, inward supplies of NRTP. Last date, 20th day after the end of the calendar month. So for every month, they have to file 20th or 7 days of the last day of the validity period, whichever is earlier. I hope you remember the validity is maximum for the 90 days. Further, they can give the application for extension of the 90 days. They can choose shorter period also of their liability. Should pay the tax, interest, penalty, or any other amount payable till the last date of filing the GSTR 5. So they have to pay. The annual return is not applicable to NRTP. Now someone has asked the question, what is the due date of the payment of the taxes? That has been asked in initial. Now the answer is 39 subsection 7. So if I am filing the monthly GSTR 3B, what is the due date of the GSTR 3B? If I'm monthly taxpayer, what is the due date of the GSTR 3B? That is 20th. Same date is for tax also. It means the same has been linked to the filing or due date of the GSTR 3B. First, I'm talking about monthly. In case of the quarterly, the due date for month 1 is 25th, month 2 is 25th, but for month 3, again, it is linked to the GSTR 3B due date. That is 22 or 24. In composition scheme, below the supply would be issued. Absolutely correct, because they cannot collect the taxes. So below the supply would be issued. Rohini, which need to be furnished the person registered, which need to furnish the person registered casual. Normal, GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, normal return would be applicable for casual taxable person. Normal return would be applicable. Moksh again requesting, you are asking to me, Arun only. You are asking to, your question is related to GST because some question is with respect to accounts also. That is the reason I'm asking. If you are asking the question is pertaining to the GST, still I'm not able to understand how it is linked to the written chapter. Please give me the two reply. I will respond to your question. What is the due date? So monthly taxpayer, whatever the due date is there for the GSTR 3B, the same date is the due date for the taxes also. In case of the QRMP, it is divided in three parts. Month 1 and month 2, it is 25th. For month 3, it is again linked to the due date of the GSTR 3B. The due date can be 22 or can be 24. Correct. And for composition taxpayer, the due date is CMP 08 by 18th of the month after the end of the quarter. Correct. Due date for the payment of the tax in respect of the GSTR 3B, GSTR 5 are linked with the due date only. Correct. Linked. Every registered person required to furnish shall discharge the liability fine. For QRMP shall have to pay the taxes for first 2 months by 25th through PMT 06. Commissioner has the power to extend. Everything has been discussed. Because the chapter is big, so that is the reason I have explained first the concept so that you all clear about the concept. Then we can read the language of the study material, because one by one if I'll start reading the language, then probably I would not be able to explain the live GST portal. That is the reason I have chosen this method to explain. Hope you all are fine okay with this particular today class. Just confirm so that we can move to the one more important topic, which is which I was talking about, that there is an amendment. Can you please explain the due date of the filing the return of the NRTP? So NRTP is for limited period. Correct. For example, they have taken for 90 days. Correct. For every month they have to pay they have to file the return by 20th. Now suppose 90 days is completed on in between of the date. Let's say 7th. Let's say 10th. Then for say 10th March is the last date of NRTP registration. Then they have to file the last GSTR 5 by 17th. By 17th. Interest for registered person making the payment of the taxes by opting fixed sum method. No interest would be payable in case the tax due is paid in first 2 months by automatic calculated fixed sum method within the due date, that is 25th. In other words, while furnishing the return in 3B, it is found that any or both of the first 2 months in QRMP. What about B2B invoices? Can I upload it? Rohini, you can upload through IFF. You can upload through IFF. This option is available, and IFF is made only basically for the purpose of B2B adding. And also whatever the invoice is for 3rd month, you can add in the GSTR1 as well. While furnishing in 3B, it is found that any or both of the first 2 months of the quarter, the tax liability net of the available credit was higher than the amount paid in challan, then no interest would be charged. In case such payment of the tax by depositing the system calculated is not done by the due date. One participant was there who was saying that we are not paying the taxes on monthly, we are paying the taxes on quarterly. Let's read this para. If payment of the taxes by depositing the system calculated or some self-assessment method is not done by the due date, interest would be payable at the applicable rate, that is 18% from the due date till the payment, actual date of the payment. Interest would be applicable as per the section 50. For registered person making the payment of the tax by opting self-assessment method, interest amount would be payable as per the provision of section 50 or any part thereof, net of the ITC which remain unpaid or paid beyond the due date for the first 2 months of the quarter. Perfect. For month 1 and month 2, whatever the taxes is due after considering the input tax credit, the balance portion, if I am not paying or paying after the due date, I have to pay the interest as well. Interest payable, if any, shall be paid through 3B only. It is clarified that no late fees is applicable for delay payment in first 2 months. So late fees is not applicable. What is the concept of the late fees? Now moving to the last important concept of the late fees. Yes, one thing again I'm repeating, I have discussed, but again I'm repeating, time limit for making the rectification, the due date of the filing, the return of the September following the end of the financial year, or actual date of the filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. And it is not permitted. See, rectification is not permitted on account of scrutiny, audit, inspection, or enforcement activity. Can you revise the return? Answer is no. You can rectify the return. How to rectify or do amendment in the subsequent return. But rectification is not possible. Suppose on scrutiny something is found out, on audit or inspection, for that rectification is not possible. Maximum due date, whichever is earlier, we have discussed also. IFF is only for 2 months in each of the quarter for financial year. Yes, for month 1 and month 2. PPT is not clearly visible. Please do something, sir. Which PPT? This is the study material, sir. We are talking about the study material, institute study material. Still not visible. I have zoomed it. Now, what is the first return? Sometimes the theory question was asked, what is the first return? See, first return is applicable. Assume that my turnover is crossed threshold limit. My turnover is crossed threshold limit on 10th of March or 10th of April. Let's say 10th of April. Perfect. I have applied the GST registration on 25th April within 30 days. And my certificate of registration is being granted on 5th of May. So the first return would be of May only. I cannot file the return for the month of April. But I have the liability of April also, na? Because what is the effective date of the registration? 10th April. I have to pay the taxes on or after supply made on or after 10th of April. Whatever the supply is being made here, I have to pay the taxes. For that, there is a concept of revised invoice also. I hope you remember. Then that particular, where I have to report? I have to report in first return. What is the first return? When a person becomes liable to registration on 10th of April, because turnover crossed the threshold limit, he may apply within 30 days. So I have applied within 30 days. There might be the time gap between the person becoming liable of registration and grant of registration. Because I am liable to pay the taxes on 10th of April. The certificate has been granted on 5th of May. There is a gap. Yes, there is a gap. During this intervening period, such person might have made outward supply. That is after becoming liable, but before granting the certificate. Yes, it has the outward supply. Do he need to pay the taxes? Yes, he need to collect and pay the taxes. In order to enable such registered person to declare the taxable supplies made by him. Fine, Sushil. Thank you. For the period between the date on which he become liable to registration, it means that is 10th April, and till the date on which the registration has been granted, that is 5th May. So that ITC can be available by the recipient on such supply, because when it will be added in the GST return, then only it will appear in 2A, 2B, etc. Firstly, the registered person may issue revised tax invoice against the invoice already issued during the said period within 1 month from the date of issuance of the certificate of registration. We have already discussed this particular provision, revised invoice. Further, section 40. This is the first return. Section 40 is the first return. Provide that registered person shall declare his outward supplies made during said period in the first return furnished by him after the grant of the registration. The first return would be for the month of May or for that quarter. The format is same as that of the regular return. So first return, details of the outward supply after becoming liable of registration, but before granting the certificate, details of outward supplies made in the first tax period after grant of the certificate of the registrations. Important for theory question. Annual return, section 44, again important for short theory question. Annual return section 44 talk about who is required to furnish annual return. A registered person are required to file annual return. However, following person are not required to file annual return: CTP, casual taxable person; NRTP, non-resident taxable person; ISD, input service distributor; tax collection at source, tax deducted at source; TCS or TDS, deductor or collector; OIDAR. These are not covered by annual return provision. So the annual return for a financial year need to be filed by 31st December after the end of the financial year. Commissioner has the power to extend what is the prescribed form: GSTR 9 for regular taxpayer, 9A for composite taxpayer. Now third is final return. First we have discussed first return, then we have discussed annual return. Now we are discussing final return. Maybe MCQ type of the question can come, or maybe directly question can come. 2 marks. Sir, means in return of May we have to add revised invoice. Absolutely, Brinda. Understanding is correct. Every registered person who is required to furnish return under section 39(1). What we are discussing? Final return. Final return means after registration is over, after cancellation. Section 45 is talk about who is required to furnish return under section 39(1) and whose registration has been either surrendered or it is being cancelled. Then they need to then they need to file the final return. Form number GSTR 10. Time limit is very, very important. The time limit is very important. The date of cancellation within 3 months, of the date of the cancellation, or order of the cancellation, whichever is later, not earlier, whichever is later. So in question, in exam, you may ask the question, you may given the question that date of the cancellation is 31st March and order of the cancellation is being issued on 15th April. What is whichever is later? UIN holder, basically they need to file the GSTR 11, and the purpose of the GSTR when UIN is issued to claiming the refund of the taxes. Such person shall furnish the details of inward supplies of the taxable goods on which the refund of the taxes has been claimed in GSTR 11 along with application for refund claim. So GSTR 11 is the return for UIN. Who is having the UIN? We have discussed in the registration chapter. For an embassy, consulate, they need to take the registration under the UIN category, and the purpose of the UIN category is only to take the refund. When UIN is issued, for purpose other than such person shall furnish the details of inward supplies of the taxable as may be required in the GSTR 11. Now, default or delay in furnishing the return. Section 46 notice is talking about that in the form of GSTR 3A. In the form of the GSTR 3A, the notice would be issued in the prescribed form, that is GSTR 3A, electronically to the person who failed to furnish the return under section 39 or annual return or final return or TCS statement. The noticee, the person to whom the notice has been issued, he has to furnish the return within 15 days. Annual return would be applicable on active registration, and frequency is annually, but final return after cancellation of the registration, everything is closed, then you need to file the final return. What is the first return in case of the composition dealer? First return is only applicable for the regular taxpayer, not for the composite taxpayer. If applied for cancellation and order is passed, whichever is later, then from that day within 3 months, you need to file the final return. Last topic, but very, very important. Why I am saying very, very important? Because there is a good amendment in the section 47. Late fees is applicable for delay in furnishing the return or details of the outward supply as per the provision of section 47. 47 is talk about late fees, is leviable in filing the details of outward supply return, including QRNP section 39, that is GSTR 3B, and final return that we have discussed about GSTR 10. What is the late fees? We are discussing what is the late fees. 100 rupees for every day during which such failure continue, or 5,000, whichever is lower. See, one thing I will explain. The section is section 45 of the CGST Act. One thing you should practically aware about that. When suppose you are filing the return and late, do you need to pay 100 rupees? No, answer is 200. Maximum late fees is 5,000. No, sir, answer is 10,000. Why, sir? Now, this particular point which I am explaining, this is applicable in journal. Might be not relevant for your examination point of view, but please note, whenever we are talking about the late fees or penalty, the provision which we are discussing, that is of the CGST Act. And we know equal amount of the SGST would be there. For example, I'm talking about, I'm doing the business of the garment and the rate of the taxes is 5%. Then if I go and refer the rate for CGST, suppose I'm saying the rate of the taxes is 5%. You tell me the answer. How much would be CGST and how much would be SGST? Suppose I am making the supply of this cert within Delhi, then and rate of the taxes is 5%. And I am making the supply within Delhi. You tell me whether I will charge 5% CGST, 5% SGST, or I will charge 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. This I am asking the question. Need to wait, Namrata, need to wait for the cancellation of the order. Once order is being passed, then only GSTR 10 would be levied, applicable. The answer is 2.5% each. Absolutely correct, Rohan. The answer would be 2.5% each, because we are reading the CGST Act, and if this act is talking about 100 rupees per day, please note equivalent amount of SGST would be added and the late fees would be 200 rupees per day. This I am explaining only for your understanding point of view in exam, because you will write section 45 of CGST Act and therefore you will write 100 rupees per day. But conceptually, I have clarified to you. 5,000, whichever is lower. So that is final, that is quantum of the late fees. Earlier, this late fees was same for all. Now there is some rationalization. Before that, let me read about the late fees for a registered person who furnishes the annual return. There is separate late fees for annual return, 100 rupees per day or 0.25% of the turnover of the registered person in the state or UT, whichever is lower. Khushi, Vrinda, the answer would be 2.5 CGST, 2.5 SGST, not the 5.5. It's better, na Jay Gandhi. It's better that they are taking the lower amount. It's better they are. So they like to penalize. But they don't like to penalize of so much heavy amount. You are saying if whichever is higher, it means if you are delayed by 1 day, then you have to pay 10,000. Is it genuine? Is it justifiable? Answer is no. Okay, I would be okay that I have penalized, but not so much of the amount that I would not be able to pay at all. So that is the reason the whichever is lower is written, and also that is the reason why the late fees has been rationalized, which is applicable for this attempt. Why the late fees has been applicable, rationalized? Because to reduce the late fees by a further amount. Before that, remember annual return, what is the late fees? 100 rupees per day and 0.25% of the turnover. What is the amendment? Let me open that amendment file and then amendment with respect to return. How can rupees 200 and 1000 in case of the late fees? Sushil Kumar, I was saying that whenever we are discussing the late fees, again, I am telling only for your general understanding that whenever we are paying the late fees, we are paying for CGST and we are paying for SGST also. Both we will club. And the section 47, which we are reading, is of the CGST Act, which talks about 100 rupees. Then it would be 100 SGST also. Whatever the percentage, whatever the amount is there for the CGST, equal amount would be added for SGST, then total you need to pay. If I'm asking how much is the late fees under GST, my answer would be 200 rupees per day, subject to the maximum of 10,000. If I'm asking what is the maximum amount of the CGST late fees, my answer would be 100 rupees per day and subject to the maximum of 5,000. Give me the confirmation. I'm requesting everyone, please give me the confirmation whether this concept is clear. 100 or 200, 5,000 or 10,000. Absolutely correct, Sunil Dubey. Turnover means aggregate turnover. Turnover in the state or UT. Sales. Question is aggregate turnover, state turnover, or something other question is there? What is your question? We need to quickly close. We need to quickly close actually. So what is the late fees which has been rationalized? Sorry. What is the late fees which has been rationalized? That is the rationalization. Now they are saying that amount of the late fees under section 47 from June 21 onward, 1st June 2021 onward, or quarter ending June 21 onward, the registered person who failed the GST R1 and 3B by the due date, the late fees would be as under. They have divided if the taxpayer was filing nil return. So earlier for nil return maximum I have to pay 10,000. Now they are saying maximum would be 500. For 500, you can see that now 250 CGST, 250 SGST, or 500 IGST. I hope you are able to understand why CYS and why 500 IGST. Correct? Because 250 CGST, 250 SGST. If my outward supply, nothing is there, outward supply, no outward supply in that tax period, or whose total amount of the tax payable is nil output tax liability, my maximum late fees would be 500, 250 CGST, 250 SGST, or 500 IGST. Now suppose if I have some output tax liability, then earlier it was 10,000. Earlier it was 10,000. Now they are saying if your aggregate turnover is up to 1.5 crore, maximum late fees would be 2,000, 1,000 CGST, 1,000 SGST, or 2,000 IGST. If your aggregate turnover is more than 1.5 crore, but up to 5 crore, it means first slab is up to 1.5 crore. Maximum late fees would be 2,000 rupees. If your aggregate turnover exceed 1.5 crore but up to 5 crore, the late fees would be 5,000. It means 2500 CGST, 2500 SGST. And third category, if your aggregate turnover exceed 5 crore, same means 5,000 CGST, 5,000 SGST. It means total 10,000. Again repeating the first, if you have no tax liability, please note, do not write nil return. Do not write nil return. You write nil tax liability. See, nil return and nil tax liability has the difference. Nil tax liability, it means there is no sale. Nil return, it means no detail. Nil tax liability you have to write if in case there is no outward taxable supplies or nil tax liability, the maximum late fees would be 500. If there is some sale and aggregate turnover up to 1.5 crore, the late fees would be 2,000. If it is greater than 1.5 crore but up to 5 crore, It is 5,000. Greater than 5 crore, same. That is 10,000. Next is registered person other than 1 and 2, thus late fees as specified in section 47. GSTR4, they have also rationalized for the GSTR4. Total tax liability is nil, then same 500. If some tax liability is there, then maximum late fees would be 2,000. Earlier it was 10,000. Now GSTR4 in every case it is 2,000. Mandatory requirement of submitting reconciliation statement audited done away with. So with effect from 1st August 2021, section 44 has been substituted so as to remove the mandatory requirement of GST audit. Earlier there was a requirement GST audit should be signed by a chartered accountant or practicing cost accountant if aggregate turnover exceed 2 crore. That requirement has been done away. Instead of the audit by a professional, now it can be self-certified. Let me read important one. With effect from this date, section 44 has been substituted so as to remove the mandatory requirement of furnishing the reconciliation statement duly audited by specified profession and to provide the filing of annual return on self-certification basis. It provides for the commissioner to exempt a class of the taxpayer from the requirement of filing the annual return. Fine. Substituted section 44. Every registered person other than ISD, person paying the tax under section 51, 52, casual taxable person, NRTP, other than those, shall furnish an annual return which may include self-certified reconciliation, reconciling the value of the supply declared in the return furnished for the financial year with the audited financial statement. So what is the GST audit? GST audit is nothing but the reconciliation between the transaction sale data reported in your GST return, annual return, with your audited financial statement. You are reconciling the value between GST return and audited financials within such time, such manner as may be prescribed. Now, however, the commissioner can recommend is nothing shall apply to the department in case if the audit is being applicable by the central government or state government or local authority whose books of account are subject to the CAG audit, Comptroller Auditor General of India, CAG audit, or an auditor appointing by the local authority. If any government authority, central government, state government, or local authority whose books of accounts are subject to GST, are subject to CAG audit, then on those type of the SSE, GST audit not applicable. So now I am moving, sorry, I'm a bit fast. So sorry, I'm moving to the one RTP question. Let me solve that question with all of you. I'm asking this question. Will take 2-3 minutes maximum, but this is important question. This type of the question will come in the exams. First question. Vidula Impacts Limited Rohini, per day concept is there. The per day is rupees 100 per day, 100 per day. That would be there subject to the maximum of 10,000. Now the upper limit has been reduced. See, please note, upper limit has been reduced. Vidula Impacts Limited is engaged in the supplying sports goods. The company did not opt for registration under GST. After this question, allow me 5 minutes for quick fire round of the question answer. When there is no outward supply, how to determine whether it is inter or intra? We'll answer the question. Vidula Impacts is engaged in supplying the sport goods. The company did not opt for registration. The proper officer under GST, based on the inquiry, find that concern is liable for registration and he registered the firm on temporary basis on 15th June 2020. After being granted the registration certificate, the company availed the following service for the purpose of its business: renting of motor vehicle from Blue Taxi Private Limited, with charging the GST at the rate of 12%. Appointing Mr. Rajesh as a technical director for advising the role in the business, and payment was based on the contract. However, he was not the employee of the company. Perfect. During the course of its business. So first, the temporary registration was granted on 15th June. Second, they have availed certain inward supply. Third, during the course, of its business, the company issued an invoice to the customer and erroneously charged higher value 34,000. So they are charging excess 34,000. Such invoice was issued on 28 Feb 2021. Next, further in the month of the Feb 21, the company also generated an e-way bill for interstate supply. Immediately on generation of e-way bill, the buyer cancelled the order before it dispatched from the factory for delivery. So before starting the movement, order has been cancelled, but he has generated the e-way bill. Fine. In the month of the March 2021, since the company was incurring heavy loss, it applied for cancellation of the GST registration on 15th March. The order for cancellation was made available on 30th March. When he applied 15th March, when the order is being issued 30th March, what is the effective date? 15th March. From the information provided above, choose the most appropriate answer for the following question. Now, question number 1, after the grant of the temporary registration, Vidula Impacts needed to apply the registration within how many days? Option is 30, 97 or 30, 97 and 15. What would be the right answer? Give me the right answer. 30, 30, 97. What is the question? After granting the temporary registration, Vidula Impacts need to apply the registration from the date of the grant of the temporary registration if no extension is to be granted for such temporary registration. Give me the answer. 30, 97 or 15. The right answer is 90 days. The right answer is 90 days. We have discussed in the registration chapter. In case of which following supply company is liable to pay the tax under reverse charge? Oh, in which case RCM is applicable? Let me go to the renting and director services. So there are two inward transactions, whether RCM is applicable on first, second, both or none. Whether RCM is applicable on first, second, both or none. Please reply. RCM is applicable on A, on B, on both or none of the above. Please give me the answer. On RCM, or which transaction RCM would be applicable? On A, on B, or both or none? Where the RCM would be applicable? On which transaction RCM reverse charge would be applicable? You are saying both. The right answer is again B. Only for this transaction RCM would be applicable. Why on it is not applicable? If you refer that notification, they are talking about the GST should be other than 12% and the supply should be other than body corporate. Am I right? Clear? The rate should not be 12%. If the rate is 12%, the transaction would be under forward charge. Third question, which document is required to be issued by the company in respect of the invoice issued on 28 Feb? They are saying 34,000 has wrongly been charged in excess. Which document we will issue to rectify that mistake? Which document is required to be issued to rectify that mistake? Debit note, credit note, bill of supply, or the revised tax invoice? Debit note, credit note, bill of supply, or revised invoice. What is the problem? What is the problem? The problem is during the course of its business, the company issued an invoice to the customer and erroneously charged higher value. Such invoice was issued on 28 Feb. What to do? Which document would be issued by the company for making correct impact of 34,000? Which document would be issued? Which document would be issued? Debit note, credit note, bill of supply, revised tax invoice. The answer would be credit note. Absolutely correct. Next question, the company need to file its final return. Company need to file its final return by, company need to file its final return within, we know that 3 months from which date? From date, what is the date? Application is 15th March, cancellation order 30th March, effective date is 15th March. Now tell me, the cancellation application effective from 15th March, date of the order is 30th March. So the company need to file its final return GSTR 10 by which date? GSTR 10 by which date? The answer is they have to file within 3 months from the date of the cancellation of order or effective date, whichever is later. So later would be 31st March, add 3 months, 30th June 2021. Last question, which of the following statement is correct in respect of the e-way bill generated for the goods in the month of Feb for which order was cancelled? Which of the following statement is correct? Once e-way bill is generated, cannot be cancelled. E-way bill can be cancelled within 24 hours of generation. E-way bill can be cancelled within 48 hours of generation or 72 hours of generation. Right answer is B. Final return should be filed within 3 months of the date of the cancellation or date of the order. Cancellation was 15th March. Order was issued on 31st March, whichever is later. So 31st March, add 3 months. So it will come 30th June. Fine. You can also read the provision. It's theoretical provision, section 48, GST practitioner. So the GST practitioner, let me read about from this provision. A person who is an Indian citizen, sound mind, not adjudicated as an insolvent, not being convicted by a competent court, or retired officer of the commercial tax department of any government CBIC during service under government and has worked in a post not lower than the rank of the group B gazetted officer, greater than equal to 2 years, enrolled as a sales tax practitioner, prepared under the earlier indirect tax regime for not less than 5 years, has acquired any of the prescribed qualification which is being mentioned, graduate, postgraduate, or its equivalent examination, degree in commerce, law, banking, higher auditing, business administration, foreign university recognized by any Indian university as equivalent to the degree examination, any other examination notified by the government, or has passed CACS or CWA cost accountant. What can be the role of the GST practitioner? He can furnish the GSTR1 or inward supply, furnish the monthly, annual, or final return, make deposit of the credit into electronic cash ledger, furnish the information of e-way bill, furnish detail of the challan, file an application for amendment or cancellation of enrollment, file an intimation to pay the tax under composition scheme, refund application, or amendment, registration, cancellation, etc. These are the activity which are available to the GST practitioner. Now we are moving to the last part for maximum 5-minute fire round of the today questions, today chapter which we have discussed. I'm asking quick question, and today is my last class, and thank you so much to all the participants, to all the students for so much patience listening and giving me the chance so that I can explain or I can share my knowledge. That was a lovely, I can say, the 5 days of my this journey. Now moving to the fire round of the question. Give me the quick answer. What is the due date of the IFF? What is the due date of IFF? What is the due date of the IFF? 15 seconds would be allotted to you. What is the due date of the IFF? The right answer is 13th. The right answer is 13th. Next question. What is the due date to pay the taxes? What is the due date to pay the taxes under monthly GST return scheme? What is the due date for payment of the taxes under monthly scheme? What is the due date for payment of the taxes in monthly scheme? What is the due date for payment of the taxes if I am not under QRMP? It means I have opted monthly scheme. What is the due date for payment of the taxes? Sunil Dubey, in this way, it will, you are talking about RTP, answer is yes. In the RTP, which I have shown to you, that is relevant, that would be important from examination point of view. This fire round of the question answer is help you to recall the provision, to remember the provision. Fine. The answer is 28th. The answer is 28th. Can you tell me what is the due date of the GSTR 3B under QRMP? What is the due date for the GSTR 3B under QRMP? What is the due date for the GSTR 3B under QRMP? What is the due date for the GSTR 3B under QRMP? What is the due date for GSTR 3B under QRMP? The right answer is 22 or 24, depending upon the state, and it is quarterly, not monthly. The next question, we know that taxpayer cannot file the GSTR1 before the end of the current tax period. We know that GSTR1 cannot be furnished before the end of the tax period. However, there are two exceptions. Can you tell me which those? Can you tell me what are those two exceptions? We know the GSTR1 to be filed only filed after the end of the current tax period. Okay, GSTR1 can be filed after the end of the tax period. There are two exceptions. Which are those two exceptions? The exception answer is, I'm waiting for your answer. What would be the answer? Exception that GSTR1 cannot be filed before the end of the tax period. The exception is CTP, casual taxable person, after the closure of their business, and second is cancellation of the GSTIN of the normal taxpayer. Cancellation of the GSTR1, cancellation of the GSTIN of a normal taxpayer. One question, GSTR1. We know that some details are consolidated, some are detailed invoice-wise information. You please answer. If I have interstate supply made to unregistered person, B2C, invoice value is greater than 2.5 lakh. B2C interstate greater than 2.5 lakh. Should I give the consolidated information or I have to give the invoice wise information? I am repeating again. The point is, if the invoice value is greater than 2.5 lakh, B2C interstate, this transaction should be reported in the GSTR1 invoice wise or consolidated. The answer is invoice wise information. What is the digit to be mentioned? If my annual aggregate turnover is greater than 5 crore, if my aggregate annual turnover is more than 5 crore, if my annual aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore, what is the digit of accession to be mentioned? What is the number of the digit of the accession to be mentioned? Please give the answer. And last question for the day. Last question for the day. Last question for the day. Please give me the answer for that question. Then I will move to the last question. Number of the digit of the HSN code to be mentioned. Is it no digit? Is it 4? Is it 6 or 8 or something? Is it 4, 6 or 8? Answer is 6 digit. The last question for the day. Annual return. Annual return is not applicable. In some of the scenario, annual return is not applicable. Please think and give me the one situation where annual return is not applicable. Please give me the answer where annual return is not applicable. CTP, NRTP, TDS, TCS, and one OIDAR. Absolutely correct. So always I'm requesting once again, you may expect this question section 47 late fees, which is being revised. Late fees that is being rationalized, that is upper cap. It means suppose 500 is the maximum limit, 2000 is the maximum limit, 5000 is the maximum limit, or otherwise 10,000. It's not that always 500. Suppose I do not have any tax liability and I have been filing the GST 3B by late one day. What would be the late fees per day or this 500? Sir, 500 is the maximum late fees. Please note the late fees which has been rationalized. You can definitely expect the question. And for your quick revision during the exams, what you can also refer, go to the institute website. You will find some study guidance also. One second. So last, for examination point of view, last thing, you can go to the institute website and must see this reference for the quick revisions, by which you can do the entire revision very fast. This is available in the institute website. Must refer that, take the printout and do the revision. You can, by this, you can quickly revise your entire chapter, your entire syllabus. So by this, I'm thanking each one of you once again for my last class and for 5 chapter which has been allotted to me. And thank you so much. And anything else you like to ask, you can. Yes. And all the best to all of you. We'll meet in the CA final classes. We like to meet everyone. The name, whatever I'm seeing, I like to see everyone in the final. You all do the hard preparations. We all meet in the CA final classes too. Any other question you can ask? Thank you very much. Good night to all of you. Thank you very much. Good night to all of you. All the best once again. So we can close the meeting for today.